Okay, my name is Jack. I'm from the Huffington Post, but earlier this year I was lucky enough to spend some time at Harvard at the Nieman Foundation for Journalism doing a project on wearables and content. So when you imagine what it'd be like to spend a month in Harvard, you probably imagine something like this, right? It's a bit like Alexis de Tocqueville, kind of, you can sit and imagine the sun, and it was, a really beautiful kind of time to be there. Of course, the reality of it was that I went in February, so actually it was a little bit more like this. You see the chairs are the same, and the one thing that I can say for certain about wearables after my research project is that they do work in extremely cold temperatures. But the good thing about the cold weather was it gave me a chance to talk to people from a whole bunch of different organizations who are looking into product development and product strategy around what news is going to look like on this new kind of range of devices that are only just starting to hit the kind of consumer market. And the general kind of theme was that, they are going to be a thing. The same way we maybe underestimated of mobile, and now the smartwatch is coming in. And the way that it's working is basically, I think of this is a Marconi-phone TV from 1937 that's basically disguised as a piece of furniture. This is exactly how smartwatches are working now. They're disguised as a watch, but in fact, wearable technology is something quite different to anything that we've had before. And it comes in a whole range of, of device types and different manufacturers. Obviously, the Apple Watch is getting the huge amount of kind of coverage at the moment, but actually, Android Wear was around from the middle of last year. And there's also been Pebble, which has been going for a couple of years. This coincidentally looks like the Death Star is Apple sales phone from last year, and the projected for the Apple Watch for this year. So it's about 10%. So this year is not the year that news organizations really have to worry a lot. This is an existential thing. But over time, this is going to become a big new product category, and it has its own characteristics. It's glanceable, it's very low friction, it's seamlessly working across different devices, and at least at first, the audience is very lucrative. But also, the other thing about the context is, this is a pyramid that Noah Chestnut from BuzzFeed News to me. News is really just one small part of this new kind of wearable model for consuming, just one part of the wearable model for consuming news. So this is, so you've got to be very concise. This is the first product, I think, the first wearable news product from the Financial Times, Spritz, for speed reading. But it doesn't use the one thing that's actually come to characterize pretty much all of the first generation experiences that we've seen with the Apple Watch launch, which is notifications. As you can see, this is just a few of the products that are out now. It's breaking news notification based. The Guardian's perhaps the most developed, includes kind of time shifted reading. But really the notification is the model that we've all got to think about, and is very different to what we're used to doing. Again, this is Noah Chestnut. Notifications exist without the app ever having to exist. It's a very different model to the one that we're used to if we think of our legacy perhaps as bundled content producers. And notifications is also perhaps, I think, the most powerful medium in the media today. If you talk about the New York Times, that's 10 million people receiving those notifications. When they go wrong, as this one did from the BBC News, it's a news story in itself that you've got notifications wrong. We nearly sent a notification at HuffPost about the fact that the BBC's notification went wrong. The other thing we've got to think about is, do wearables make us consume less because they're a kind of a layer between us and our smartphone, and they're only alerting us when things are really important? Or do they actually make us consume things more because actually the neurological process of the slight dopamine hit you get from checking and seeing whether there's any new information to consume is exactly the same on a new device as it was on the old one? And the other longer-term thing that we have to think about is the effect on revenue. We're already in an industry where we're all experiencing this huge disconnect between mobile attention and audience and mobile revenue. If wearables exaggerate that trend, as they may do, and migration and attention migrates, then we could end up with this. This is a quote from someone who's here today, that the print dollars, digital dimes, mobile cents, and perhaps wearable tumbleweed, is the last kind of bit of that. So there's, the editorial side of it is perhaps the simplest to figure out, because, as Benedict Evans says here, the first take of these is going to be news notifications in a new format, but ultimately it's going to be around how can you transform your editorial so it's more personal, is more relevant, it's glanceable so that just a glance of the content is going to be enough to consume it. And we also have to think about how the devices work together. And the last question, and I think we're a couple of years from this really being a big issue, but it's one that we should maybe try and get ahead of, is what's the effect on monetization when people start to use these devices every day? So that's that.